So you've been saving for a down payment for years, and now you're starting to think that this is the year that you want to go out and look for a new home. Or you currently have a home, but maybe it's too big because the kids moved out and you want to downsize to something smaller. Or the opposite, you're having more kids in the house and everybody's tripping over each other and you really need to find someplace bigger before you lose your sanity. However, you're concerned that interest rates are going up, home prices are all-time high. Is it risky for me to go out and start looking for homes in today's market? That's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. Hi, I'm Josh Alexander from The Brokerage and your host of Orange County Housing Market News, your one-stop shop for all things Orange County real estate. So on today's episode, I'm going to break down the 5-step process that you should be going through to figure out if now is a good time for you to go out and start looking for a home. So whether you've saved up to buy your first home, you're upgrading, or even downsizing your home, this is a great episode for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and break down these 5 steps that you should be doing to figure out if now is a good time for you to look at buying a house, even in today's crazy environment. So step number 1, I know it sounds simple, but you really need to actually write down the reasons you want to move. You want to list them all out so you have them there to reference because you will need them later on as we get to a different step, but you want to make sure you know the reasoning why you want to move because typically it's more than one reason. So is it because you don't want to rent anymore and you don't want to be throwing your money away every month into the landlord's pocket instead of your own? Is it because you don't want to worry about what the landlord's going to charge you next year because rents are going up so crazy right now? Or is it because maybe you don't want to commute as much? You want to spend more time with your family, don't want to waste all that money on gas, especially right now? Or could it be something like you've had the house for a while, your kids have left the house, and now it's a lot of house to manage, you're not using a lot of it, and you're thinking about downsizing to something more manageable so you don't have to stress as much? Whatever the reasoning, you want to write all those reasons down because again, we're going to reference that in a second. So once you take the time, whether it's a couple hours or a couple days to go over all those different reasons why you want to move in the first place, now you want to go through and figure out where would you like to move to be able to alleviate some of those pain points that we talked about and what type of things are non-negotiable in terms of bedroom, bathroom, size of the house, all those kind of things. You want to identify and again, write these things down because after that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to either talk to your agent, go on Zillow, go on Redfin, and you want to search the last 60 days of closed sales in those neighborhoods with the type of criteria that you're looking for and just see what home prices are going for. Now, the reason I say you want to search the closed sales in the neighborhoods you want to look at versus the active inventory is because that active inventory number can be a little deceiving, especially in today's market when homes are selling so much higher than their list price. It could be listed at $800,000, but eventually it could sell for $900,000. So if you're thinking that you're going to buy an $800,000 home in this neighborhood, and then you go and start placing offers and all of a sudden everything's getting bid up to $900,000, you're just going to end up being disappointed. So it's good to make sure you're looking at what homes sold for so you know what people are actually paying for them and what you can expect to pay when you get into the market in those neighborhoods with the type of amenities you're looking for. So that's the next step, is figuring out what it's going to cost for you to be able to get into those homes in the neighborhood that you're looking for, and then you can go on to the next step. So now we move on to step number 3. So now that you know what your pain points are, you know the reasons you want to move, as well as knowing what approximately it's going to cost for you to move into the neighborhoods that are basically going to get rid of those current pain points that you have, now you need to figure out what the cost difference is going to be. And this is where lenders are going to get involved. Now you might be saying, I'm not even sure if I want to buy yet. Why should I talk to a lender? It's free. There's no charge to you. Yes, it might take a few hours of your time to get the documents together to send to them, but typically it's not too much, especially if you have a W-2 job, to be able to get the documents to the lender. And now you can say, I want to buy a home in this neighborhood, in this city for around this price range. What is my monthly payment going to be based on the programs that I qualify for, as well as my approximate interest rate based on those loans? And now you can have some actual data to put in front of yourself to figure out what the cost difference is going to be between what you're paying right now and what you might be paying if you decided to move forward and actually purchase a new home. And that brings us to step number 4. And this is the most important step for you to pay attention to, especially especially in today's market as interest rates go up and prices continue to go up as well, to determine how much risk it's going to be for you personally to buy a home in today's market. And it has everything to do with timing. So if you're only planning on being in the home for 2 years, you're going to buy a home and then eventually get something bigger, or you want to move to a different state, it's going to be inherently more risky for you because you're susceptible to any type of short-term market corrections. So if down the line, let's say a year and a half from now, the market corrects 10% and you want to go sell your home, you can be underwater in your home. However, if you're like most people that are purchasing a home, not investors, most people are planning on being in their home 5+ years. So it's been shown time and time again, the data shows that if you're planning on being in your house 5, 10, 15 years, it is very unlikely that the price that you pay for the house now is going to be higher than the price you're able to sell it for 5 to 10 years from now. It just doesn't happen very often. So the longer that time horizon is for you, the less risk it's going to be. So that's a really easy way to determine if now might be a good time for you to buy a house, or if you were thinking of buying a starter home, only being there for 2 years, then moving to something else, it might not be the best time for you to buy a home if you want to avoid as much risk as possible. But again, no matter what the market's looking like, it's always going to be more risky to buy a home for the short term versus the long term. So appreciation in the housing market in the long term has always gone up. So just like the stock market, if you're buying into the S&P 500 index, over the long term, the index has always gone up. So really, the longer you plan on owning the home, the less risk you're gonna have no matter what the market conditions are for purchasing a home. So now we get to the final step, which is step 5, and that is to analyze all this information that we have. So now you're gonna go back to step 1, you're gonna take that list of all the reasons why you wanna move in the first place, all those pain points that it's solving for you. You wanna take that and you wanna look at the cost difference that you would have to pay to get into the type of home that you want to. So let's say it's a $500 difference. So now you wanna think to yourself, okay, if I'm spending $500 more a month, is that gonna be worth it to me to be able to have a shorter commute, to be able to spend more time with my family, to be able to know that the monthly payments that I'm making on my house is actually going towards something? If that is worth it for you, now you can move on to that next step saying, do I plan on being here for the long term? If it's gonna be a short-term deal, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad time for you to buy, but you are taking on more risk. So if you're saying that I wanna be in this new home because it's bigger, my family's expanding, it's in the right school district, I'm going to be here for the long term, 5, 10, 15 years, those financials make sense for you and your family, then now would be a good time to purchase a home, because over the long run, again, everything else will tend to work itself out. If you're gonna be in a home for the short term and the financials don't make sense for you, where the amount of money you have to spend to get what you want is just not really doable, it's gonna put a lot of financial stress on you, you're not gonna be able to go out to the movies, you're gonna be house poor, basically not able to do anything because all your money is going to your mortgage, now is probably not a good time for you to move. So that's an easy way to really figure out in today's market if you should continue looking for homes or get that process started, and if it really makes sense financially for you to do so. If you're finding this information useful, which I hope you are, can you please hit that like button below? If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe and the bell button. That way you're notified every time a new episode comes out. And if you're listening to this through the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you take the time to just let me know how I'm doing. Do you like the content? Do you not like the content? Any review is helpful because it helps me tweak what I'm doing to make sure I'm bringing helpful and valuable content to you every single week. And finally, if you might have a family member or friend that's in a situation that might find it useful, please consider sharing this as well. I want to be able to make sure I'm reaching as many buyers as possible that are thinking about purchasing a home, whether it's their first home or they need to sell their current home and move into a new one. So again, thanks for watching, stay healthy, stay happy, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.